Howdy everyone. So I thought I'd make a little disclaimer here at the start of this video. This is just a very logical and straightforward analyzation. I am in no way picking sides between Tex or Chuck or any way. I'm not saying Team Chuck, I'm not saying Team Tex. I'm not picking sides here. I am just analyzing the behavior that I'm seeing in front of me and nothing else. This is not me picking sides, not shaming Tex, not shaming Chuck, not shaming Lester, not doing any of those things. Just me analyzing from a critical lens and a logical lens. Nothing else. Yeah. Just thought I'd clear that up in case there was any confusion, but this is just a very logical analyzation and nothing more. Hope you enjoy. Okay, so before we get into Tex and Chuck, I wanted to talk about this. So let's talk about Jolly and what Jolly's doing. I've noticed Lester puzzled about Jolly's behavior here, and I thought I'd give my take on it. So what I think Jolly's doing is you'll see him corral all his herd up into this one corner. I think what he's doing is he's trying to keep all of his herd as far away from Tex and Chuck, especially Tex, as possible because he views them as rivals and wants to avoid either his ladies leaving him or Tex and Chuck coming and trying to take them. It's very similar behavior, and very similar behavior what I see him doing when he sort of moves his cows along. Is it looks very similar to how horses, specifically male horses, will do a behavior called snaking, where they'll lower their head, they'll pin their ears, and they'll guide herd members where they want them to go. Now, it's not just male horses that do this, females do it too, but this is just something I could equate it to. You see him doing the same thing to Ruby here. When she wanders off, he sort of pushes her back toward the herd. I've slowed this video down just so I could have time to talk, because it's a short video clip. But yeah, that's what I think Jolly's doing. I didn't think I'd have time enough to make a full-length video out of this, so I thought I'd put it here. Yeah. All right, let's get into Tex and Chuck. So this is right after Chuck's been put in, and you can see immediately he starts picking up dust and displaying. And I did see one comment that Tex approached Chuck first, but that's not the case. Tex did come up and approach, but if you'll see, he's not the one starting this. Chuck was the first one to start displaying and showing off. Tex right now is just standing his ground and waiting for Chuck to come forward and start to fight. I think there comes Tex showing his side and his shoulder, showing off how big he is. Chuck's just going to keep displaying, kicking up dust. Tex just holding his ground, waiting for what's going to happen. Yeah. Don't know exactly when it is, but at one point you'll see, yep, here, Chuck will step forward to Tex, not the other way around, and then Tex fights back. Now, this isn't a serious fight. I think this is them just testing each other out, seeing how far the other one will go. Yeah, sort of squaring up a bit. Not really hard pushing, mainly just jabbing each other with horns. Yeah, the female's all coming up to see what all the commotion is now. And Chuck backs off. Continues to display. Chuck doesn't back down completely. He doesn't walk off and completely surrender, but he doesn't follow through with the same fight. Now, later on, we'd see they do end up getting into a real fight because Chuck didn't end up backing down completely. if Chuck had, this situation would not have happened. Now, that's not an insult to Chuck, but it's just how bulls are. So you see them sort of locked horns, and now they really are starting to seriously push on one another, not just jostle horns like they were before. See the blood on Tex's head. That's from like a small cut on his head or the base of his horn where Chuck has scratched him. Not a serious injury by any means, just a small scratch. Yeah. Yeah, they'll sort of push and shove as bulls do. You'll see Tex has an easy time of getting under Chuck's neck because of his longer horns, but Chuck is heavy enough to where that alone doesn't give Tex enough power to push Chuck back. Now, Tex does have more weight and more willpower than what Jolly does, which is why I think Tex has an easier time with Chuck than Jolly did. But Chuck definitely is no pushover. He's no pushover. And I think the last fight between Tex and Chuck lasted longer than this one. I don't know if that's because of any process Chuck has gone through since then with his neutering or what, but I'm just saying or if it's just the case with this scenario. Because every fight's different. Yeah. Yeah. I'm impressed with how Tex is able to link up his horns with Chuck as much as he is with the difference in size. I think Tex slipped on the mud a little bit there, but didn't affect him all too much. I can't pause this video during the audio recording. I wish I could. I wish I knew how, but I don't know. But the audio does seem to be a bit delayed sometimes on this editing app. I don't know why. It's kind of frustrating when I hear it back, but yeah. Chuck they just sort of do it in circles right now. Taking a bit of a break, perhaps. Tex pushes forward, and then right here. Yep. Chuck's done, but Tex is not. So what I believe Tex is doing is Tex wants to make this point one time. He wants to do this once. He doesn't want to have to come back and do this 2 or 3 times. He wants to make his point now and not have to make it again. So what you'll see is what I've called a follow through and make sure. It's basically what Tex is doing here is making sure Chuck gets the message. And he's going to step forward again and make his point again. Now I think this is where Tex really gets Chuck's leg, because you don't see him limping before now. Yeah. There you go. You'll see Tex walk around Chuck, exposing his side, standing up really tall, just sort of flexing all his muscles as much as he can, just to show off and make sure that Chuck knows he's the boss, gets his point, so he doesn't have to make it again in the future. Yeah, and I wish Lester would have kept recording on this a little bit longer toward the end, but you'll see Tex walk in a circle around Chuck in a very methodical, slow pace. Not a normal walking speed, but just a slow pace to, show off and walk around and just to make his point and follow through and make sure that Chuck actually did back down for good. Because animals don't like risking unnecessary injury So he wants to make his point once and make it a good one, if that makes sense. Yeah, you'll see Tex sort of walk around in a very methodical, slow, powerful walk and make sure that Chuck gets the message right here, right now, and doesn't question it later. Yeah, that's the analysis between these two bulls. Hope you enjoyed. Bye.